Welcome back to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We'll get started with our interview, but first, let's hear from a couple of our sponsors. We want to thank Violet Defense for sponsoring the Educational AD Podcast. Please check out their website at violetdefense.com. Violet Defense is dedicated to protecting our world from germs by bringing the power of UV disinfection to everyday spaces. Their patented technology enables them to harness the power of the sun to incorporate ultraviolet light into products and environments like never before. Whether you're ready to implement existing products, or if you'd like to explore researching and developing a custom deployment of their technology for your school, Violet Defense has the solutions and the experience you need. Once again, go to violetdefense.com for more information on this great product. We also want to thank Sideline Interactive. We have a Sideline Interactive video score table in our gym, and it is a tremendous tool. You really need to check this out. You know, it's becoming harder and harder to fund an athletic department these days, but Sideline Interactive's indoor scoring tables and video boards can generate $10,000 or more every year while creating excitement in the gym and the ultimate game day experience for your student athletes. Go to sidelineinteractive.com or call them at 832-786-0302 to schedule a live web demo to see their tables and boards in action and find out exactly what these fantastic products can do for you. You can also email them at sales@sidelineinteractive.com. That's sales@sidelineinteractive.com. You won't be disappointed. We also want to thank Wall of Fame by Vital Signs. The FIAAA has a Wall of Fame video board for our Hall of Fame, and it's just really a great display. Please give them a call. You know, Wall of Fame by Vital Signs has a mission to bring your school's legacy to life. They provide a variety of interactive touchscreen options and an extensive library of templates to make it easier than ever to recognize the athletic achievements of your students, both past and present. For ideas on how to showcase your school's diverse history and your proudest moments, visit vitalsignswalloffame.com. Or learn more and get started with your own digital Wall of Fame tribute. Call them at 614-981-3589, or you can email them at sales@vitalsignswalloffame.com. Again, that is sales@vitalsignswalloffame.com. We also want to thank Huddle for their sponsorship of the podcast. At Huddle, we power sports. More than 180,000 teams across the country and around the world use Huddle to elevate the performance of their student athletes and teams using video and analytics. Huddle is the complete platform for performance. They've got online tools, mobile and desktop apps, smart cameras, including the Huddle Focus. We have a Huddle Focus in our gym, and our volleyball and basketball coaches just love it. Of course, there's analytics and a whole lot more. Huddle's built for every level of play, starting with the club and the youth levels, up through the high school level, college, and even the professional ranks are using Huddle to help their teams get better. You're in pretty good company with over 6 million users, including your student athletes, a lot of their parents, and definitely the coaches of the college and university teams that you're trying to get your kids recruited to. If you want to learn more about Huddle and how your school can become a Huddle school, go to their website at huddle.com and talk to their professionals. Remember, Huddle, we power sports. We also want to thank Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. They are the named sponsor for the Athletic Director's Toolbox segment of the podcast. Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack are a quick, easy, and affordable way for you to collect some really cool data that allows you to evaluate and improve your athletic program. Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack also gives you access to the 95% of the players and the parents who really love your program. And it gives them a voice to help demonstrate the importance that a positive athletic experience has for them. Go to athleticsurveys.com and check out their testimonials. and then give them a call at 1-800-738-6466 or email them at info@athleticsurveys.com to get started. Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. Let them help you take your athletic program from good to great. And of course, we want to thank our good friends at Hometown Ticketing, the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. You can learn more about Hometown Ticketing by going to their website, hometownticketing.com. Also check out our Wednesday feature, What's Up with Upchurch, every other Wednesday with Jessica Upchurch from Hometown Ticketing, as she shares best practices for the platform. Hometown Ticketing, simple and easy online ticketing. Hey, welcome back, everyone, to the Educational AD Podcast. We truly have a great friend on the show today, Mark Butler. Mark is a certified athletic administrator. He's currently the athletic director at Cambridge Christian in Tampa, Florida, does a great job with their program. He's won a bunch of awards as an AD, but Mark and I first crossed paths many years ago. He was my girls basketball coach when we were both at Coral Springs Christian, did a super job. Won, the district, was National Coach of the Year, and also coached our oldest daughter. So has a very special place in our heart. Mark Butler, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Jake, it's great to be with you. I'm just excited about what you're doing and just to be a part of this podcast and be a part of what you're accomplishing. And your friendship means a lot. And of course, I'll be talking about you a little bit and some of the questions we're talking about too as well today. So I'm glad to be a part of it, Jake.
Okay. Well, again, we're glad you could find some time to be on. I know it's a busy time of year for our listeners. We're recording this on November 10th. So in Florida, that means, fall playoffs plus the start of winter season. So let's get started. Mark, we always like to let our listeners have a chance to get to know our guests. So tell us a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, where you went to school, and how your path has led you to Cambridge Christian.
Yeah, I originally from Kentucky, and so grew up playing baseball and basketball in Kentucky. Of course, basketball is big in Kentucky, as you know. And sports has always been a very important part of my life from a very young age. I attended Bowling Green High School in Bowling Green, Kentucky. And then I transferred my junior year over to a kind of a small private Christian school in the same city. And it was that experience of going to that high school that really, it was kind of a faith-based educational type experience that I was being involved in. And it really started back then shaping my philosophy of sports and why to participate, why to play. And then eventually it impacted on, how I coach and why I coach. And why I decided to get into coaching. And so, but then in that same city, I went to, got my bachelor's degree at Western Kentucky University, the Hilltoppers there in Bowling Green, Kentucky, and then went on and got my secondary education degree in Pensacola Christian here in Florida. And that's just kind of a little bio as far as my early life. But then as far as my job path, I'm starting, believe it or not, I'm starting my 32nd year into being a teacher, coach, or athletic administration. It's been an amazing journey so far, and my path has taken me to several different schools over that time frame. And the advantage of that was I got to see how things were done in different areas and different schools and different school settings. I just learned so much from the people that I worked with and on a day-to-day basis. But I began actually when I graduated from college, right there in Bowling Green. I actually went back to the school I graduated from, and I was their teacher. I was a teacher in the classroom, history, coaching, basketball, and some other sports. And I was also doing the athletic director role, just coming right out of high school. And that was back in 1989, believe it or not. And so going to that, back to my high school, as a small school, it was my first 5 years, it was on the job training. I mean, yep. It was the best experience I could hope for, because, you don't get the chance just to be thrown in like that. I was thrown in to just doing all that on my own. But I started there, and then when I was getting my master's degree in Florida, I met a principal who was a principal down in Pompano Beach, Florida, Ken Lopez, and at Highlands Christian Academy. And he always told me, hey, if you ever want to come down to Florida and get out of the cold weather in Kentucky, we'd love to have you come down. And I took him up on that offer in 1996, and I moved down to Pompano Beach, Florida, and went down to work with him. And that was a great experience there and at Pompano Beach, and working with Ken Lopez at Highlands Christian Academy. And that was just more of a larger school environment. I was used to a smaller school environment, and this is kind of a larger school for my perception of where I came from. So I was kind of growing there. I served there 3 years with him in that school. And then this is when I came across the paths with you, Jake. I went to Coral Springs Christian Academy, and I served with you there for 5 years down in Coral Springs, Florida. And you were the athletic director. I think you might have came in the same year or the year before I came there. I'm not sure if it came in the same year or not. It was 2001, I believe. But we were there together 5 years. And, looking back on it, I'm not just saying this because it's your podcast, but that was a pivotal moment in my life as far as my career path, because I saw how you did things day to day, and I saw how you handled the coaches and how you ran the organization, the athletic department, and just took a lot of notes mentally and also on paper. Just, hey, I might want to do this someday. I might want to be not just a teacher and a coach, but I might want to get into an athletic administration. And although I was doing that the first 5 years, it wasn't until I got to Coral Springs Christian under your leadership that I really pricked my heart that maybe teaching coaches is not something I'll do for the next foreseeable future, but eventually I think I might want to get into, administrating of athletics and making a difference in coaches' lives through that way. And so you set a good example there, the things you did, and you really did a tremendous job there. The program was very successful under your leadership, and I was just thankful to be a part of it, to be a coach on your staff and to coach your daughter. And we had some really good kind of building that girls program up there, and it was just a really good learning experience. It was some fun times, and we had together there, and really just really look back with fond memories of that. And then after that, I went over to a crosstown rival. I got a good opportunity to kind of open that door to be an administrator over at Calvary Christian Academy in Fort Lauderdale.
Yep.
And I was there for 3 years and served there as their athletic director. And that was even a larger school, probably one of the largest schools in the Southeast, probably as far as Christian schools go. A really large private Christian school down there, and really learned a lot there. I think it was there that's where I took a little different even path. I always wanted to coach and teach from a Christian perspective, because I believe that was my foundation that was in my life. And I know it might not ring true for everyone, but God kind of put me on a different path. And I was kind of looking at, when I was there at Calvary Christian, God just impressed upon my heart to get into athletic administration, but also to look at it as, why am I doing what I'm doing? We're only down here for a short period of time, and why am I doing what I'm doing? And I said, I want to make sure that my life counts while I'm down here. And I wanted to look at sports as an opportunity to disciple kids, use sports to make a difference in their lives and build character and disciple them for Christ. And that was kind of like my heartbeat on that. And I was there for 3 years and felt great about that. But then I wanted to kind of move back closer to home with my family. And so I took a job up at in Louisville, Christian Academy of Louisville, and really still a very large Christian school up in Louisville, and a great institution there. And I stayed there for 2 years. And then I just felt like that God wasn't done with me in Florida. So I looked for some opportunities to get back, and I got, that's when I came down to Orlando and Foundation Academy, and I worked there with my current boss now, believe it or not, who was the head of school at Foundation Academy in Winter Garden, Florida. And that's how I met my current boss now, Sean Meeks, and kind of connected with him and was there with him for 3 years. And then there was an opportunity down in Sarasota, Florida, for me to kind of get on the coast, so to speak, and that region of Florida, and to lead that program and build that program up, and had a great experience for 3 years at Sarasota Christian. We were the athletic program of the year, the Sunshine Cup Award winners for 2 years out of 3 that was there. And then after that, Mr. Minks, Sean Minks, my current boss, took a position here at Cambridge Christian School in Tampa, and they were looking for an AD back about 6 years ago. And he said, "Hey, why don't you come on up and serve here?" And that was back in 2015 or 16. And I made the move up to Tampa to travel up here and to be the athletic director here. And I've been here ever since. So that's kind of my journey, how God brought me up to be at Cambridge Christian School. And I'm hoping this is my last stop. I love it here. I love being, over the 32 years and all those experiences, to be able to just pour that into what we're doing here at Cambridge Christian now. So I love it. I love what God's doing. I love working with kids, love working with youth and coaches. And so I'm just excited to still got some years ahead of me, hopefully. So, but I'm sorry to be so long-winded, but that's kind of the small journey, small story, journey of what God's brought me. So.
No, not at all. And I really appreciate you sharing. And I think it's important to highlight, the journey. We all have a different journey. I certainly had a number of stops along the way, but those last few, I think, were the most meaningful ones and the longest lasting ones too. And as you mentioned, you get an opportunity to see how other people run their program, how this coach, coaches their team, and you pick and choose, the things that you feel are going to work for you. So very, very cool. Real quickly, you coached for so many years. And again, I'm going to give a shout out the year that, I guess it was the very first year that we won the district, when my daughter was the point guard on your team.
2004.
I thought that was one of the most, one of the greatest coaching jobs that I think I've ever witnessed. We were certainly the underdog going into that championship game against our big rival, Highlands Christian, and fell behind early. Just, oh my goodness, we're so behind. And you came out, I can't remember if it was the first quarter or the second quarter, but you came out and you froze the ball. We're behind. And you sat on it for the longest time. And finally, Highlands took the bait and came out, and we just started chipping away at that lead. It was just so very cool. Now that I've given you that shout out, I'll get to my question. Okay. As you made that.
Before I do that, Jay, your daughter was key in that game because she was our point guard, and she helped control the ball, and she got the girls to go backdoor cuts. And so she made some great drives there to keep us in the game. And so shout out to Megan for that too. So
all right, well, I'll let her know you
shout out.
Yeah. As you made that transition from teacher coach to athletic director, and now you're, in effect coaching the coaches, what were some of the things that were, maybe give us one or two that were, say, a direct application, just, hey, I did this as a head coach and I can do the same thing as an athletic director, in this leadership position. Can you think of a couple things to share? Being
a coach of a team, you have, the buck stops with you as far as on that team. You are responsible for what goes on in that team, and how your players, act in the classroom, how they act outside the classroom, how they represent themselves, is a reflection in large part due to your leadership and to your, as a head coach, your influence in their life. I'm not saying it's totally that, but, I felt that was one of the things I've learned as being a coach of a team, to take that mentality and say, you know what, now I'm going to take the things that I was working with on the court with a basketball team, and I'm going to translate some of those leadership qualities and characteristics to help me know what kind of coaches to look for, to get the right coaches on the right seats on the bus, so to speak, to lead those programs, and to let them know that, hey, what you do as a coach in your program is a reflection not only of me and my leadership as an athletic director, but of our school and what we stand for, our mission and vision, and also ultimately in a private Christian school setting it's a reflection of Christ and what you do. So that's one of our major focuses. So I think, being a coach and making that transition, being a coach really helped me know how to lead coaches and help me to know what goes into coaching, and the sacrifices that they have to go through, and the qualities and things that I wanted to build in my life as a coach. I want to make sure that I'm looking for those same qualities and characteristics in the coaches that I'm bringing on board, and to hold them to that standard. And so I think that helped me. I'm not sure if that answered the direct question, but I think some things helped me there. Being a coach also translated over to being an athletic director. Of course, the organizational and leadership part of it too. You got to plan your practices. You got to plan your detail. You got to you got to pay attention to detail. If you're going to do things right, and you got to have a plan, you got to work your plan. You can't just have a practice and say, hey, roll the ball out there and then expect game time to come. You're going to be ready to play. You got to have a plan and then work your plan effectively. And I carried that over into being an athletic director. Hey, what's our plan as an athletic department? What we're going to do? Let's execute that plan effectively. And we're all together working together. So.
No, and that's spot on, because, as the AD, each coach, and sometimes we have to remind them of this, they are members of the athletic team. They're not just, the football team in isolation or the softball team in isolation. They're part of the program. And yes, yeah, you've got a role, but you're still a member of the team. So
yes,
very cool stuff. For our listeners, we're visiting with Mark Butler, certified athletic administrator. He's the director of athletics at Cambridge Christian School in Tampa. We're going to be back with some more, but let's take a quick break and hear from one of our sponsors. We really want to thank Huddle for their sponsorship of the Educational AD podcast. At Huddle, we power sports. More than 180,000 teams, including some of the best in the world, are using Huddle to elevate their performance with video and analytics. Huddle is the complete performance platform. They have online tools, mobile and desktop apps, smart cameras like the Huddle Focus. We actually have a Huddle Focus in our gym, and our volleyball and basketball coaches love it. Of course, there's analytics and a whole lot more. Huddle's built for every level of play, starting with the club and the youth organizations up through high school, college teams, and even the professional ranks are using Huddle to improve their team's performance. You're in pretty good company with over 6 million users, including your student athletes, most of their parents, and of course, the college and university coaches that you're trying to get your kids recruited to. If you want to find out more about Huddle and what they can do for you and how your school can become a Huddle school, go to their website at huddle.com and talk to their professionals. Remember, Huddle, we power sports. Welcome back, everyone, to our visit with Mark Butler, certified athletic administrator from Cambridge Christian in Tampa, Florida. Mark, in our profession, we always talk about the importance of leadership and particularly mentorship. So I'm curious, who are some of your mentors? We always talk about, our parents or maybe coaches that we had growing up, or maybe people that you've worked with or worked for. Who's had an impact on your career to help you get where you are now?
Yes. I have to go back first of all, and just, things I do now. Sometimes I hear my dad in my head saying, hey, his words of encouragement. So I would say my dad, Cleo Butler, was a tremendous example in my life early on, just always supporting me when I played sports and baseball and basketball, and then just instilling into me, good work ethic and character and why you do what you do, and just seeing his daily, the way he lived his life and his stick-to-itiveness, his commitment to his position and his work. I just saw that daily consistency, and it really just showed me that, hey, in my life, to be successful, whatever I choose to do or whatever God has for me, I need to make sure that I have all those characteristics and qualities built in my life. So I thank my dad for that. But also early on, I told you about that one school I started out, I graduated from, went to college, came back to that school. It was, at that time, it was called Anchored Christian School. Now it's called, I believe Legacy Christian in Bowling Green. But there was a pastor there. His name was Richard Odom, and he served there as a pastor for over 50 years. And he just took an interest in young people, and he dedicated his whole life to mentoring young people. And out of that church, that ministry, many went on to be preachers and pastors, missionaries, teachers. And of course, I was one of them, and I went down the teacher coach. Now I'm in an administration type situation. So the things that he taught me working with him those 5 years, those first 5 years, and just, I think that was the foundation of the beginnings of my building my philosophy, of why we're doing what we're doing. And then it grew as I went from place to place, and I kept building on it. And then of course, in my current position I am now with Mr. Sean Minks. He's been a great friend. It's great to work somewhere where you don't feel like you're working for a boss. You feel like you're working with someone who has a heart for athletics, but also a heart for your personal life. And he's always been a great encouragement to me, and to see how he deals with situations, how he runs things, how he handles things. His leadership style just fits my personality great, and I love working with him. He's been a great mentor to me. And then of course, I know you don't want to hear about this, but you, Jake, you don't realize sometimes, and a lot of times people don't say it to you, but I'll just speak from my own personal heart. Those 5 years that we served together at Coral Springs Christian was a pivotal time in my life, and a foundational part of my life. So many things you did. I know you said no to me a lot, but also you said yes to me a lot. And because I always wanted to come to you and say, I want to do this. And you said, well, can't do that right now. Can't do that. But I keep coming back on different things. Okay, we'll do that. Sometimes I think you said yes just to kind of get me out of your office. But you were just your organizational skills, your structure, the way you looked outside of the school. You weren't just tunnel focused on Coral Springs Christian, which was important, but you realized that hey, there's other agencies out there. We're part of Florida High School Athletic Association. We're part of other things. You kind of opened my eyes to that, and nominating me for the basketball coach of the year really was a tremendous honor. And those things make a big difference. And just seeing your character, and you did things the right way, and you were unwavering in that. And I could always count on my AD doing the right thing. And even sometimes when it was tough decisions, not popular, but looking back on it, you chose not the easy path, but you chose the right path of making tough decisions. And that put in my heart that, if God ever leads me to be an athletic director down the road, I'm not going to do what's convenient. I'm going to do what's right. And even if it's tough, even if it's hard, you can't ever go wrong by doing right. And so I learned that from you and your character and your family, and it was a blessing to me. And I was just, all those years, you were just a mentor to me without even knowing it. I probably didn't say a lot to you then, but I saw you live it out, and it made a difference in how I chose to move forward in my career. And I really appreciate that. And don't cut that segment out, please, of the podcast. Make sure you put that in there, because I want you to know how much you made a difference, and you do make a difference in people's lives. You're a good example, and I appreciate all the support you've given me over the years, and being a blessing to me. So I appreciate you.
Wow. Thank you so much, my friend. And, it's funny you mentioned that, and I think I've shared this with you. I've used you in a number of talks before about that very thing, that, this coach, I told him no more than any other coach I've ever had, but I also told him yes more than any other coach, because he was just so motivated and so fired up. And, sometimes, we couldn't do it. It was a great idea, but, a lot of times we were able to do it. And, I appreciate you and your enthusiasm and your love for what we call education-based athletics. Speaking of that, let's take a real quick trip. We don't have a lot of time. One of the things we like to do with the podcast is promote the NIAAA and the certification program. And you're a CAA. Talk a little bit about how you became aware of it and your process through the courses to earn your CAA.
Well, I served going back to our time together with you, then of course, you nominated me also for the Florida High School Athletic Association Basketball Advisories Committee, and I was on that, and that was a great thing. And so that kind of got me starting to touch base with FHSAA, and then I began to hear about other opportunities over the years, and I got reconnected with you about the NIAAA and FIAAA, and basically just started to attend some of the conferences in Orlando, and hearing the importance of it, and realizing that the NIAAA had some tremendous resources for athletic directors. No matter, even though I had many years of experience behind me, there were so many things in that course that when I decided to take the CAA with the NIAAA, it really opened my eyes to some important things that I need to be reminded of, and also to focus in on as I'm moving forward in my career. And it was a game changer. It really was. It wasn't very difficult to do. It takes some time just to get it done, but boy, I tell you, it's worth it. There's so much valuable information you get from that, and going to these conferences and meeting other people as much as you can. And so I got to serve on the FHSA also Athletic Advisory Committee with you when you were there, FHSA, and also with NIAAA. Once again, come back to Jake here. You nominated me for the Section AD of the Year, and I got that honor, and it was a tremendous night as well to share that with you. And so, being involved in these conferences and in these educational opportunities, state association, national associations, is invaluable. And I encourage every athletic director, listen to me right now, find out what that is and get involved in it. You won't be sorry. It'll make a big difference in your life.
Okay. I'm going to send that little snippet on to the NIAAA. So you use that as a public service announcement. Great
Okay.
stuff.
Well, thank you so much.
Once again, for our listeners, we're visiting with Mark Butler, Certified Athletic Administrator and Director of Athletics at Cambridge Christian School in Tampa, Florida. We're going to be back with more, but let's take a quick break and hear from another one of our sponsors. We also want to thank Sideline Interactive for their support. We actually have a Sideline Interactive video score table in our gym, and it is a fantastic product. You really need to check it out. It's becoming harder and harder to fund an athletic department these days, but Sideline Interactive's indoor scoring tables and video boards can generate $10,000 or more every year, while also creating excitement in the gym and the ultimate game day experience for your athletes. Go to sidelineinteractive.com or call 832-786-0302 to schedule a live web demo and see their tables and boards in action, and find out exactly what these fantastic products can do for you. You can also email them at sales@sidelineinteractive.com. That's sales@sidelineinteractive.com. You won't be disappointed. All right, we're back with Mark Butler from Cambridge Christian School in Tampa. Mark, one of the things we try to do with the podcast is this idea of sharing best practices. So I'm going to put you on the spot. What are some things that you've seen, or maybe even initiatives that you've done at your schools that you're particularly proud of? You might say when you take a step back and look at your school, your coaches, you can say with equal parts pride and humility, boy, we do this better than anybody else. What are some best practices you can share with us?
Well, man, there's so many, but I'll just try to narrow it down just to a few that I feel really good about. But I believe trying to get for an athletic director and some best practices would be just as much as possible. If you can get coaches on campus, a position in the school, teaching on staff somewhere, to be able to interact with the kids on a daily basis, those student athletes to be able to approach you as a coach. I know sometimes we can't get all of our coaches on campus, but we really try to make that a concerted effort to have our coaches on campus so they can build into the lives of the kids. And also having that one, like you mentioned earlier, having that one team approach. It's not coaches on separate islands, and then I go and visit those islands. It's more of a one team approach. We share athletes. we encourage our athletes not to be focused just on one sport. Be try to get involved in more than one sport in your high school career if possible. And I think that teamwork approach, one team approach, instead of each team operating on their own, they're operating within the family, the team, the system, and a commitment to academic focus, and exceeding state requirements. Whether the state says, hey, here's the state minimum requirements to participate in sports, we set our academics at even a higher level to say, hey, you come to Cambridge Christian School, we want you to compete on the field and on the court, but we want you to do so also and keep your academics even higher than what the state might even require of you to do. So, so having coaches involved and assist with more than just a single team, academic focus, and that having coaches on campus, it's just a few of the things and that I feel like we're trying to build here and focus on. And it's a never-ending thing, but as far as it's always a work in progress. But that's some of the best practices I would encourage other ADs to do as well.
Very cool stuff. And again, you and I, we've talked about this a lot, about the importance of having, especially the head coach, those head coaches on campus to set the tone. We'll do this at the end of the podcast, but if one of our listeners wanted to reach out and pick your brain a little bit, and I certainly encourage you listeners to do so, how can they get in touch with you?
Just shoot me an email, mbutler@ccslancers.com, and I'll be glad to jump right back on and touch base with you. And if it turns into a phone call, we can make it, do that as well. Be glad to share any information I might have, but also while I have you on the phone or through email, I might be asking you questions about some things that you do as well. So, athletic directors, we pride ourselves in sharing and information. We don't keep it to ourselves. We want to share, we want to grow. And if someone's doing a great something at their place, we want to say, hey, can we take that and use that at our school and make that, make it our own. So send me an email. I'll be glad to touch base with you.
Okay. Appreciate you sharing that. Again, we're visiting with Mark Butler, Certified Athletic Administrator from Cambridge Christian School in Tampa. We'll be back with some more, but let's hear from another one of our podcast sponsors. Wall of Fame by Vital Signs has a mission to bring your school's legacy to life. They provide a variety of interactive touchscreen options, along with an extensive library of templates to make it easier than ever to recognize the athletic achievements of your students, both past and present. For ideas on how to showcase your school's diverse history, along with your proudest moments, visit vitalsignswalloffame.com, or to learn more and get started with your own digital Wall of Fame tribute. Call them at 614-981-3589, or you can email them at sales@vitalsignswalloffame.com. That's sales@vitalsignswalloffame.com. All right, welcome back. Mark, at this time, we kind of get student athlete focused. So here's my question. I think you and I are both what we call, we grew up under the old school, and maybe even there's a little old school to us as coaches. But my question is, how can an athletic director or a head coach do a better job of finding a balance between, let's say, an old school approach of, come on, you got to suck it up, you got to be tough, while also being sensitive to and very aware of the social emotional challenges that a Generation Z student athlete is experiencing these days? Do you have any advice for us?
Yes. That's a very interesting question. And it's really a relevant question because we're facing it, daily, day by day. And I would say, 20, 30 years ago, or however, far you want to go back, being a coach of kids on a team, athletes on a team, the coach was the buck stops with him. He was the authoritarian figure. And it's still, that still needs to be the case as far as, responsibility and things like that. However, back, I would say the difference of that generation and how we need to transform it to, transformational coaching and make it impactful for this kind of generation we're in now is back then, basically, hey, you're here, you're in practice, you do what I say, when I say, how I say, I don't want to hear from you. you're here for me, and we're going to be productive. We're going to get this done, and I'm going to get my checklist done, and we're going to move on. And then I'll see you again tomorrow, or I'll see you at the game. And that kind of a stern approach like that. Not to say those coaches didn't love their kids. It's just more of a, hey, we got a job to do, and your emotional feelings about doing this certain drill, doing that, or having this, it wasn't as prevalent on the kids' mindsets back then in a lot of ways. But culturally, we have shifted and changed so much. And I think it's very important now to realize that that you have to coach almost in a different frame of mind. And here's what I mean by that. Coaches can still should, and I've seen the best coaches do this, have this, just like it was in the past years. Don't change your expectations. Don't change your standards of what you want to accomplish with that team and what you expect those athletes to do on your team. Hold the standard the same. But the way you enforce those standards and the way you enforce that message and the way you follow through with that message, it needs to be a little bit more in today's coaching to be effective, is to tailor the message of that standard and expectations and how you're going to communicate that to each individual team member. Because back then you could just say, here's our standards, expectations, and that's it. We didn't think much about the social and the mental and how they received it and the things that are going on in their life. Now I think you can still hold that standard high and still hold that expectations high. But now I believe it's very important in today's youth and working with youth is, they need to know how much you really love them and care about them, and that you're there for them and they're not just there for you. And, you're not going to cater to them as far as lowering your standards and say, that's okay, you can get by with this, but over here, since you're not having any issue with it, you stay on that course. But over here, since you're having issues, I'm going to lower the standard. Never lower the standard, never lower the expectation, but just tailor your message to individualize, because you have so many different personalities on your team. Every one of them, no matter how good an athlete they are, starter or the last person on the bench, they need to know that their coach cares for them, loves them, and is more important. They care more about what's going on in their personal life and what's going on in their life, in their home life, in their education, their academics, and not just, hey, what can you do for me on the field, or what can you do for me on the court to make me look good as a coach? I'm here to really genuinely make a difference in your life using this sport that I'm coaching to make an impact in your life to help you become a better man or a better woman in society and to build those character strengths. So never change the standards, never change the expectations. But I think there has to be a different method of message and approach and how you relate to these kids today and make it personal and make them feel valued. And that's not being, that's not lowering your coaching standards, but that's just also making a difference in today's culture in the right way. So I try to admonish our coaches to do that. And that's something I think that would reach the kids nowadays a lot better.
I really think you hit it on the head. It's the standard is still the same, dedication, commitment, sacrifice, teamwork, but how you're communicating that, not just to the 2021 team, but to the individual members of that team. So critical, so important. Wow. I think that's one tool that looking back, I wish I would have had that in my toolbox. Speaking of the toolbox, we want to thank Athletic Surveys by Lifetrack for sponsoring the AD Toolbox segment of our podcast. We're going to take a break, but when we come back, we're going to find out what Mark Butler, award-winning coach, award-winning AD, is going to put in his athletic director's toolbox. Please stay with us. Once again, we want to thank Athletic Surveys for sponsoring the AD Toolbox segment of our podcast. Athletic Surveys by Lifetrack are a quick, easy, and affordable way for you to collect some really cool and comprehensive data that allows you to evaluate and improve your athletic program. Athletic Surveys by Lifetrack also gives you access to the 95% of the players and the parents who really love your program, and it gives them a voice to help demonstrate the importance that a positive athletic experience has for them. Go to athleticsurveys.com and check out their testimonials. And then give them a call at 1-800-738-6466, or you can email them at info@athleticsurveys.com to get started. Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. Let them help you take your athletic program from good to great. Once again, for our listeners, we're visiting with a dear friend of mine, Mark Butler, Certified Athletic Administrator and the AD at Cambridge Christian in Tampa, Florida. Mark, as always, it's great connecting with you and finding out what's going on, but we're not done yet. At this point, we want to find out what you, as an experienced, award-winning athletic director, is going to put into the toolbox of a brand new athletic director who's going out on their very first job. What 3 tools are going to go in Mark Butler's athletic director toolbox?
Well, Jake, that's a loaded question. I could probably give you 24 points on it as far as all the things necessary to run a outfield, to run a very organized and effective and efficient and excellent athletic program. However, if you're asking me to just narrow it down to 3, I would say probably the 3 things that come to mind, first of all, would be establish your why. I believe as a young athletic director coming in, establish your why. Have a clear mission and vision of why you do what you do. This is the foundation to build any successful athletic program, because without a vision, the people will perish. In other words, it's a saying from the scriptures, but that's very true, because if you come into an athletic program as a young AD and you don't know where you're going, guess what? The people that are following you don't know where they're going either. So here at Cambridge Christian School, our mission and vision is every athlete a disciple. And that covers a lot of areas. That covers a lot of areas of basically, coach, why are you coaching here at Cambridge Christian School? Are you in line with our mission and vision of our school? If you choose or you're hired or brought on to coach here, we expect you to coach within the mission and vision of our school and our athletic department. And so having that mission and vision keeps everyone accountable, keeps everyone on the same page and unified in mission and vision. And I think it's very important to have that and work that out. And it's very important, whatever your school, you'll have to adapt it to your school's standards. You don't want your mission and vision to be totally, an antithesis of what your school stands for, of the athletic department. So it's got to work together, and hopefully you'll serve somewhere where you feel like you can fully endorse that, which I do here at Cambridge Christian School. So that's the first one. Second one would be, as a young AD, it's easy to get discouraged and with a lot of stuff going on. I would, the second point would be minimize parent persuasion. And that's going to come across as maybe negative. I don't mean it to be negative, because, parental involvement is very important. After all, they're entrusting their kids to our coaches and to our athletic department and to our teachers at our school. But as far as the athletic department, they're entrusting their kids to get involved in the extracurricular activities, and they expect you as an athletic director to lead that program in a way that's builds character and honesty and integrity. And they expect the coaches to be an extension of them and to not be teaching them and different things than what they're being taught in the home. That we look at it as a partnership. However, with that said, and our goal is to build that bridge with the parents and have good relationships with them, we also got to realize that parents, you go to every parent, they'll have a different way of why and how you should be doing things. So the parents, you need to get the parents to understand that, hey, the best way we're going to accomplish this mission and vision is your support, and realizing that maybe not everything we do as an athletic department as a coach might be the way you would do it if you were the coach and had the whistle, but we won't do anything that's going to cause anything that was going to cause any harm or would break any kind of relationship between the parent and the child and the student athlete. So I would say minimize parent persuasion. Do not let the pushy parents drive the program. And some of these parents don't mean to be pushy. They're well-intentioned, and they really do have good hearts, and they think that, hey, I've got to let this be known because I can help make a difference. But you got to realize something about being an athletic director. We love parents, and but parents come and go. and however your program will remain. So cast the vision and then stay the course, and encourage them and build them and let them know your mission and vision so they can be more apt to buy into what you're doing. And not all of them are going to like it, but minimize parent persuasion. I think the third one would be, and I know some of these there's all kinds of tools of, organizational tools and structure. I think you can get that by doing some research online and asking other ADs. But I would say for a young AD starting out, adapt and evolve. What I mean by that, adapt and evolve, I mean, have thick skin. Leadership's lonely. You're not going to it's not a popularity contest. And if you're in it to get the pats on the back and get everybody to like you, and you can't take criticism, constructive criticism in the right way, and you take it personally, you probably won't last in the field of being an athletic director very long, because it eventually wears on you. You'll get parental complaints about things. And sometimes there's valid criticisms that you need to say, hey, what this parent is saying about this coach or about me in our athletic department, 90% of it's not valid. But you know what? 10% of what they said, I've got to be mature enough to look in the mirror and say, that 10% is going to stick. The other 90% is going to roll off my back like water off a duck's back. But 10% of it's going to stick, and I might not have to let them know that, but internally I'm going to make a note of that and say, you know what, we can do better in that area. And so take criticism in the way, and not personally, that they're personally attacked. You might feel like you're personally being attacked, but realize it's not a personal attack. Look at it like, what can I take from this criticism and make it constructive, and take maybe the small element of the truth in it and make it applicable to our program, and be acceptable to that change. Don't get stuck in your ways and say, I'm going to do it this way no matter what. If there's a better way, a better course, go down that path and see where it leads. And I think with that, adapt and evolve is, stay even keeled. In life, you're going to have ups and downs in life, and you're going to have some good days and some bad days. And being an athletic director, I love so many things about my position here. I look at it as a ministry, and I love it. But that doesn't mean everything is, rainbows and sunshine. There's some tough times. There's tough meetings. There's some tough things you have to deal with, and you can't be afraid to face conflict and be able to deal with it in the right way. And but don't take the praise so high to where you're on a mountaintop one day and look, what's parent and these people are bragging on us, look what we're doing. And then don't take the criticism so low to where it's going to make you lose your joy of why you're doing what you're doing. Stay even keeled and realize there's going to be ups and downs, mountains and valleys, and always seek to grow and improve on a daily basis as an athletic director. And I think if you do that and have that mindset going into it, I think that you'll be very successful in your role as athletic director.
Great advice. The adapt and evolve. I love that. I look back over my long career, and I know for a fact that I evolved. It just came too slow and too late. I wish I could have done a better job.
Yeah.
Mark, one more time, if one of our listeners wants to reach out and pick your brain, what's the best way that they can get in touch with you?
Well, just shoot me an email. That's the best way. mbutler at ccslancers.com. I'd be glad to share any comments or anything you need to share about anything at all. I'll be glad to talk to you on the phone as well. We can that email can turn into a phone call, and I'm available to you. Anybody that has any kind of questions on that. Of course, I'll probably pick your brain on some things you do as well. So I look forward to that. Anybody wants to reach out, I'm available, and I love being with you, Jake, today. Thank you so much for having me on board. It's just it's kind of coming full circle a little bit. Kind of look back and reminiscing on the good times that we've had in the past, and also we got some, I know you kind of retired a little bit. There are some great days ahead too, and we still got work to do, and we're not done yet. And I'm so happy to be with you today. I really am.
Well, again, I've only got another 15, 20 good years left, and then it's going to be downhill. Mark Butler, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. All the best moving forward for you and your teams.
God bless. Thank you, Jake.
For listeners, remember the Zoom recordings of these interviews are uploaded to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We appreciate you listening today. Come back again next time for another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. And we also want to thank Hometown Ticketing, the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. Learn more at hometownticketing.com. Hometown Ticketing, simple and easy online ticketing.